Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian here at the Farnborough International Air Show at this historic airfield 30 miles southwest of London, one of the world's most important air shows with representatives from government, military, industry, and aircraft from all around the world on this, the 100th anniversary year of the Royal Air Force, the world's first independent Air Force. Our coverage here is sponsored by Farnborough International and Leonardo DRS, and we're honored to be talking to my old friend Ronan Horowitz, who is the CEO of Elbit Systems of America. We're on the Elbit stand here. Busy week, a little bit slower today, but the first 2 days of this show were gangbusters. What kind of a show have you been having, Ronan?
Absolutely, busy show, a lot of good meetings, both with customers, partners, OEMs. Overall, we're very happy to be here and to represent Elbit and the product portfolio that we have.
Yeah, I mean, the first 2 days were absolutely frantic, and I've noticed that Butzi, the CEO of the group, is here, and I know you guys have a lot on your plate because this is the first air show. Well, it's not yet the first air show, but it's the first air show since the Elbit's acquisition of Israel Military Industries was announced. I know you guys are a little bit away from closing that deal, but certainly
it's coming close, very close. The acquisition will close very shortly.
And one of Israel's most historic and important industrial capabilities, certainly for anything that's on the heavy vehicle side, whether for tanks, APCs, artillery, and the like. But that's not why we're here, Ronan. I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the things which are of highest interest. You guys had a great deal with the Swiss, and I want to talk to you about that with the Hermes line, which still remains very, very popular around the world. I want to talk to you about your smaller UAV offering also, which is really popular. And I want to talk also like across the portfolio of some of the stuff, not just from an Elbit perspective, but also from an Elbit Systems of America perspective, because you're a trusted U.S. company now with Israeli DNA and roots, but you also work business independently internationally from the U.S. market. So walk us through some of the portfolio from a big company standpoint, and then also from your piece of the universe.
Well, I think what we talked about, the project we're doing in Switzerland, the Starliner, is a good example of really anticipating market needs, where Elbit really took on to put together and develop a male UAS that can operate in civilian airspace. And as you know, Vago, this is an area that's emerging all around the world, in the US and in Europe. Elbit is probably going to be one of the first to certify a male UAS to be able to operate in the national airspace. In the US, for example, we're doing something very similar with exploring the usage of UAS for applications such as digital agriculture in partnership with large companies that are in that field. We're doing this in North Dakota. We've done several pilot projects. We're working with some electrical utility companies on storm damage assessment and disaster recovery. So this is a good area to show how you can take the existing portfolio and develop new applications in emerging markets.
And what about on the smaller UAV side, because you guys also had some news there?
Yeah, in the smaller UAVs, of course, we continue to develop our portfolio. As you know, we have together with our partners from Thales, the Watchkeeper program, which is the mainstay of the UASs for the UK. We're also showing here in the show the Sky Striker, which actually is a loitering munition. So that's a combination of a UAS and a munition to provide capability to loiter, to look for targets, longer durations. There's significant interest in the U.S. for that capability by Special Forces and by the Army, and we are getting ready to prepare for several demonstrations of that capability in the U.S.
Talk to us a little bit about other elements of the portfolio, because your guys' reach goes from battle management networks to cyber to, again, to munitions of all manner. Talk to us about some of the interest and some of the conversations you guys have been having here from European customers, but also you have delegations from about 40 countries from all around the world here. So it's not, you're not just talking to Brits or Europeans, you're talking to folks from all around the world.
I think the unique thing about Elbit is the breadth of the portfolio. And as you know, what's happening these days is convergence of different technologies. Technologies are being converged from the visible range to the electro-optics to SIGINT to EW. Everything is converging to provide data fusion, sensor fusion, decision support, networking, and Elbit is positioned in the best location, basically best position to be able to do this and be at the forefront, understanding the operational use and then bring this together. There's great interest from customers in Europe, of course, around the world, but there's also great interest in the US for solutions that Elbit can bring either for the US market or in partnership with some of our large OEMs to come and offer it to their international customers. Solutions that are bringing in advanced sensing capabilities, advanced networking, data fusion, intelligence into the battle space.
There is, back home, there's a budget debate that's going on. As you look at how the budget discussions between the House and Senate are emerging, how does that affect your product lines? I mean, what are some of the key budget lines that you're looking at as the CEO of a business that touches so many different parts of that budget?
Yeah, I think the main thing that I'm encouraged, and I've participated here in some roundtables with Air Force leadership, I'm encouraged by what they're doing, which is taking basically advantage of new budget authorities, the 809 authorities and other authorities to accelerate procurements, taking out bureaucratic administrative processes, making sure time to market is shorter, in fact, because that's what we're facing with our adversaries, who are really coming in with quicker solutions. We need to be able to introduce new technologies quicker. Elbit, again, is in a great position because of the breadth of the portfolio, the innovation, the ability to anticipate operational needs, to be able to support what the US government wants from a perspective of technological superiority, insertion of capability, as the Air Force is saying, for example, buy quicker, faster, better.
Do you think, everybody faces cost pressure? We talked to Mitch Snyder, we were talking about how he's trying to take price out of his products. Leanne Corrette told us the same thing about how you have to have a very methodical, almost ruthless approach to that without going too far, because then people get the wrong message about what it is you're ultimately trying to do. What's that process as Elbit as a group? How you guys work that? Because there's you're a proud Texan company. You're even a proud Texan at this point, for God's sakes. Yes, and you still like hot countries, hot pieces of land still.
Absolutely. Listen, I think the key thing for that, of course, we are doing like anybody else. We're doing things in lean and taking costs out. But I think the good thing about Elbit, what we really excel at, is reinventing ourselves. Because really, if you want to really look at affordability and cost and effectiveness, you have to continue investing and reinventing yourself. A good example of this will be our helmet-mounted display system on the F-35, where we're continue to reinvent, to reinvest in new technologies. And that's the secret of keeping yourself fresh, relevant, and affordable. And I think Elbit is a good example of doing it across the board. If it's in displays, if it's in electronic warfare technology, if it's helmet-mounted display technologies, any area you look, Elbit is coming up with innovative new technologies to basically upgrade and replace its existing positions.
Lockheed took the extraordinary step. I mean, you mentioned the helmet-mounted side. You guys have worked that for a while. There were some big challenges that you guys overcame. It looked like for a while you guys were actually going to lose that, but I remember you saying the commitment to both Lockheed and the customer, we're going to manage to get this right, don't worry about it. But still, many people years ago were saying, look, if that system doesn't work, the whole program fails. What kind of a signal does it send all the contractors on the program when Lockheed takes a step like dropping Northrop, which was the DAS sensor guy from the very, very beginning? They're replacing them with Raytheon. What kind of a message does that send everybody who's on the F-35 program, including you guys, which have some of the key systems on the airplane are Elbit systems?
I think the key message for everybody, including us, is you can't take anything for granted. You need to keep it sold. You need to continue to invest. You need to continue to renew yourself. You need to continue staying relevant, and that's, Vago, what we're doing, and that's actually what Elbit is very good at. Elbit is an innovative company with a breadth of technology and capabilities, and Elbit continuously invests in its products, in its solutions, to make sure we stay relevant. And relevance is to the Lockheeds, it's to the Boeings, it's to the customers. What do they need? What are the things that are gaps for them? And we're very good in looking ahead, working with them, investing to stay relevant with them.
Let me ask you what is a slightly tricky question. There's been obviously a lot of discussion about the trade, transatlantic trade dispute. Folks are working to try to avoid it turning into a full-blown trade war. There's been a lot of rhetoric. Certain Europeans see the Buy America First in some of the president's statements, maybe not the way the president may intend them. There are folks in Europe who are saying, hey, look, we're spending more money. We don't know about America's transatlantic commitment anymore, even though the president has said that, but there are some concerns on the European side. And folks saying, hey, look, if we're going to spend more, let's spend it at home. or let's buy it from governments that may be more popular, for example, with our people or elsewhere. I know a couple of European friends of mine and I have told me just over the last few weeks, hey look, Israeli products are great, and so if we have any concerns with Washington, we know that we can get very, very good products from our Israeli friends. Do you think that this will be an opportunity for Israeli industry, in a sense, to be able to try to supply, God forbid, if things get to that point where there's almost overt friction and guys are starting to make those kind of decisions, which a lot of people hope is not made, but that may be the case?
Well, Vago, I think I look at it this way. Israel and the US are very strong allies and partners. I think Israel will always align its interests from the perspective you raised with the US interest. And so I think there is actually an opportunity, not instead of US industries, but working with US industries to bring solutions around the world, Europeans, other nations, that they are needing. I think the National Defense Strategy clearly outlines working closely with trusted allies and partners. Israel is one, but there's many others. And I think we see this as an opportunity for US companies and for companies like Elbit Systems of America to provide these kind of solutions. I think the trick for the US, and again, without talking about the politics, is how to balance very, very correct and relevant national security concerns with our desire to bring in and to encourage our allies, our trusted allies, to invest in the US, to collaborate with the US, also on the industrial level. I think that's what needs to happen, and I think that's the message we're giving to legislators and to the Congress, and I think we're getting some very good reception that that's the right message and the right balance.
Let me ask you one last question, an industrial-based question, because you brought it up, because you and I have been in a couple of these meetings where this issue has been discussed. As the administration works its industrial-based plans, there are some folks in the White House who are very passionate about Buy American,
Yes.
Who are very skeptical of any alternate sources of supply.
Yep.
So far, the 13806 does not appear to have that in it. I mean, certainly we spoke to Eric Tuning. He was very, very focused on alliance,
Yep.
partners.
Yep.
America has partners, that's its strength, right? General Mattis has said that, Secretary Mattis has said that numerous times. And we've heard that from so many other senior officials. Do you get a sense at all, what is the kind of industrial strategy that was the right industrial strategy from your standpoint? I don't want to put you in a position of sort of advising, but in some of these conversations, you have not been shy in sort of saying, and talk to us a little bit about what maybe is the right way to balance some of this stuff, and are you convinced that, there won't be any pushback from the system? Because sometimes, you talk to senior people and they're all about allies and partners, but some people perceive those messages a little differently. So there are some folks who've told me that at a lower program level, they're feeling some pushback as foreign companies that have been long-time, decades-long suppliers on some systems. So it's kind of a two-part question.
Sure, but Vago, again, first of all, let's just be realistic. I mean, US jobs have always been very important for the administration, whatever administration, and for legislators. This is not new. I mean, the fact that we want to create US jobs, we want US technologies, we want to promote the US economy, all those are natural and are not different. I think the key, as I mentioned, is to find a balance where you can actually collaborate with allies, trusted allies and partners, obtain technology from them, and then maintain strict US control and oversight where you think things are sensitive. Okay, if it's in configuration control, if it's in software, it doesn't mean having US control over those things doesn't mean you cannot use global supply chain. There are technologies today, by the way, I've seen in the show the last couple, 3 days, some very innovative tools and technologies to control supply chain and to make sure you know what's coming into the system, if it's hardware and software, and to monitor that. So if we use technology and smarts, a lot of US capabilities, to do this in a smart, resilient way, I think we can have both worlds. We can have US jobs, sell more stuff to our customers around the world, promote US industry, and at the same time, promote a win-win solution for international industries in collaboration with companies like Elbit in Israel or any other companies in Europe.
Do you feel any pushback at all from the Pentagon or program offices, against your systems at all at this point?
I don't feel a pushback on our systems. I feel that the Pentagon, the administration, the services are looking for the right balance. How can they meet national security and address national security concerns, valid national security concerns, with their desire to enjoy innovation, to collaborate with allies. There are delegations after delegations going to Israel, looking at Israeli solutions and coming back and are excited about the potential of these technology solutions to help our US warfighter. Our mission, and I believe the administration's mission, is to find a way to enable that to happen while addressing valid US national security concerns. And I think it can be done.
Let me ask one last question because it just slipped into my mind because you and I had talked about this, is the new cyber protections. So Secretary Mattis has made it abundantly clear, you know, the last administration worked this challenge. There were all sorts of things of, well, let's not make it too prescriptive for industry, even though there are cyber standards in there. But after a few very high profile recent incidents, which you know about, he said, listen, this is time for us to really buckle down and tighten those. From your perspective, what's the added incremental cost? Does it add any price at the end of the day, or is this something that is just an integral, critical piece of doing business, whether for you or to ensure the same thing for all of your suppliers?
I think it's critical, integral, and you got to do it. Yes, there is a cost to it, but frankly, it's a necessary cost. We've got to make sure that what we provide is uncompromised. As you know, uncompromised solutions, uncompromised technology that will meet the warfighter need. I don't think there's a way to compromise on that, just like we don't compromise on quality of product and we don't compromise on performance, we cannot compromise on cybersecurity.
Raanan Horowitz, CEO, Elbit Systems of America. Always a pleasure, Raanan. Really enjoy it.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.